Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have Iris on, who is Iris Deadlifts on Instagram, and something we pretty much mirror the same message in that so many women think that the answers to being happy, being confident, being satisfied with their body, getting the tone and definition they want lies in just chasing lean, or everything like maintenance is considered, or it's approached as though it's like a waiting room to then start making progress again. And people don't understand what it actually takes to get toned. They think that the numbers on the scale, the body changes, that is all going to give them the happiness they want. But if you're never happy in the now and you don't understand the process, how are you ever going to get to the outcome? Okay, and then the other element, which is probably the part that I want Iris to introduce this with, keep going to say Iris to introduce this with, is you can be on the right path. You can start up with a coach and be like, okay, I'm going to do this right the first time. But the moment the scale fluctuates or your body feels uncomfortable in your clothes, which I actually made an uncontroversial opinion on this, which I truly believe, I want to know your thoughts on it as well, and that people say don't focus on the scale. I say, wait, they say don't focus on the scale, focus on the clothes. But I say, even that is a terrible metric for people that are average build, for people that are trying to get lean and toned. Because you do a hard training session, your clothes are going to feel tight, you're going to chuck a hissy fit. Or you have a PMS week, hissy fit. Or you're just having a bad time and all of a sudden the same clothes that felt good the day before now feel like they're really tight. So even that can be a bad proxy measure for progress. So with that, here's Iris. I'm going to let her introduce her passions and her takes on the above, and then we'll flow the conversation from there.
Hi. Thanks for having me. First of all, I'm excited and nervous. I always get nervous when I'm on a podcast, but it's a whole big messy conversation, right? That everything absolutely intertwines with absolutely everything else, like fitness and mindset and body and all of that stuff. But I mean, if I had to pick my passions, it would be like, what does it actually mean to get toned? What does it actually mean to have muscle as a woman? And all the mindset stuff that goes along with that, like body image and emotional regulation and like the balance, which is a conversation I've been having a lot recently with people, is the balance between having some grit in what you want to accomplish and giving yourself some grace to be human and be okay with being human, which a lot of people, frankly, really are not okay with being human. You know, perfection is such a unattainable standard, but it's also drilled into all of our heads for some reason. I think helping people get away from that and just being okay with cruising inconsistency after a while. I think if I had to pick, those are my babies.
And I guess this begs the question of what does it take to get toned? We see these images online of people that look the part, they look fit, they have this muscle. And obviously I can speak from my experience. I thought that cutting carbs and dieting and continuing to train as hard as I can, add in more reps, add in more sets, do marathon sessions, all while eating low carbs, maybe add in a HIIT session on Saturday, which I actually did to have like 6 days of cheating. I thought that that was the answer to getting lean. And no matter what, I could not get the scale to move. No matter what, I felt like a huge fluid bubble fish. But when you see those bodies, although they look smaller, I remember my coach back then saying to me, that body actually weighs a lot more than you realize. She weighs more than you because muscle is weighing something and she has a lot more muscle mass than you. But we can't come to terms with, yeah, but they don't have a lot of muscle. They look really lean because they have a lot of muscle. So maybe we can kind of unravel the unrealistic expectations and the unrealistic, I guess, what should happen, what it should look like in the process in itself.
Yeah. And you know what's really funny? I was thinking as you were talking that I was in a deficit from the beginning of the year and took a break at maintenance. I'm still there right now. And not, I don't want to say a lot, but a handful of people at my gym have mentioned like that I look super, super lean, like in a week's time. And I was kind of thinking about that and chuckling to myself because I'm in maintenance. The scale has gone up, but also my muscles are pumped back up because of all the glycogen coming back with more carbs and more food in my diet overall. And so I look leaner, but I'm like 3 pounds heavier. And that's just so counterintuitive for so many people. And it just goes to show like not everything we want is reflected on the scale. But yeah, to speak to, I mean, what does it take to get toned? Was that the question? Sometimes I
what does the process? No, that's actually a really important point as well. I just want to add to that before we go into the tone part. There was a period of time my gut was refusing to eat so many different types of carbs that I had to do such a low carb approach. And my carbs went from quite literally, I was on 350 to 400, and they had to drop all the way down to 100 to 150. My training sessions, I was crying, like literally, I'm not even kidding. I had tears in my eyes at the end of my leg sessions because I put my not worth, but like I feel good with performance. I chase performance. The fact that my one happy factor, which is how I perform in the gym, how I feel in the gym, pushing my extra reps when I say I'm really, really struggling here, I'm just going to get one more. No, I can do one more. I couldn't do that anymore. I had no mental fortitude. I had no grit. And the second that someone said to me one day, "You're looking really small," I just burst into tears. I'm like, I'm tired. I hate this. I want carbs. I can't train and I look like shit. Like I looked like shit. And as soon as I started repleting with carbs, I felt good again. I started training again. I had my veins popping. People don't understand that. But yes, what does the process actually take? And using both our experiences, where does this like, why are we so warped up in the scale when what we want to do is feel a certain way and look a certain way?
Well, I think some people try to equate it, the scale going down means fat loss. And for a lot of people, at least for my clients, like some of them need fat loss to be healthier in their bodies. And so it's kind of like equated in their minds. But then it's also, all the marketing, lose 14 pounds by Thanksgiving, lose 20 pounds by Christmas. And, the magazine comes out like 2 weeks before Christmas. And it's just all these things hammered at us all the time about like lose weight, be happy, lose weight, be happy, lose weight, be happy. And it's really hard to separate that when it's thrown at us all the time. And so I think it's really a practice of like catching ourselves in those moments and reframing it and asking yourself what you like really want. Like, do you want to feel good? Because part of health is feeling good, right? And I think a lot of people, if I had to guess, a lot of people listening to the pod have been down that road of crazy town, I call it, super low calorie dieting, super restriction, over exercising, all of that. And you feel like shit. Like you don't feel good. And I think, I hope we can all agree on that. So it's just kind of taking the leap into trying something new, like a more reasonable approach, more food overall, which is something you've already touched on. Like nutrition has to match up with the goal. And I was talking with Wandy Wellness the other day on my own podcast, and she's like, that's how I know you've kind of made it, is when lowering calories.
I was just about to say that.
Unappealing. Like when the idea of eating less food just doesn't seem fun. And it takes time to get there, though, because that is what everyone's told all the time. Like, be healthy, eat less. Be happy, eat less. Look better, eat less. And it's just not true.
It's so funny because that's a message that I've always said. It's like, I know that you're in a good place when you're not even thinking about fat loss anymore. Like the fact you're still asking when can I go into the next diet so I can reveal the muscle that I built. You're still not ready. I just like, if you're still asking about the body aspects of things, why can't I see this? How can I do this about calories? Like if you're still obsessing about those things, we aren't anti-fat loss. We aren't anti-diet. We put people into them all the time. It's the right context, the right mindset, doing the work before it so it makes it easier. So you can get in, not struggle so much, and see better results. And that way you'll have better training performance because you've built up the basics. You've built up a solid foundation, and it makes it easier to lose fat because now you're performing with a greater training load, not necessarily doing crazy ass batshit, but just like you're lifting more compared to the way that you did before, and you're able to handle that. That is how you get that lean body. But this is where like people think that commit to a coach for 6 months, for 12 months, do a build for 4 months, and they're good to go. They don't have the realistic expectations on how long it takes to get that body that they see.
That kills me.
Tell me more about that, because that's the biggest thing.
It takes time. It takes time even if you're doing it right, you know? I mean, personal experience, I've done 2 builds. One was like 11 months and one was, I think, 6 months. And even that, now looking back, like that was on the low end, I think, but it was enough for me to dip my toe in and experience it and be okay with that. And then it kind of set me up to be able to do, I was going to go for 12, and then like my body's cues was like, yeah, I'm done. So I got back into maintenance. But you cannot build a house without materials, right? You can go visit the construction site every day if you want to, but if you don't have bricks, if you don't have concrete, if you don't have shingles, like nothing's going to happen. And that's kind of what it's like. That's exactly what it's like with food and building. You know, you cannot expect, if you don't have the energy availability there, you can't expect to add anything, right? People want to grow, people want muscle, they want to grow. You have to grow on the scale potentially, and like in your clothes potentially, and in size, like muscle size. If you want to grow, you have to provide it the materials, which again is another hard thing for people to grasp. But once they dip a toe in, it's like, oh, first of all, I feel so much better. Second of all, I can perform so much better and lift heavier. And then they actually, if they give it time, they will see that change, which I think brings us to the next one is programming, because exercise selection and programming matters, which is another thing I've been talking about recently too, is, you know, just because you have weights doesn't mean that what you're doing is going to get you what you want if your goal is strength and hypertrophy. And even those two are different, but it's a nice little Venn diagram of like they overlap and they can play well together, like really, really well together. But, you know, I used to be a cardio bunny, and then I used to do like the cardio with weights, and I did Orange Theory for a while and all these other things that are perfectly fine forms of movement. Like it gets you active. Some of them have a really cool social aspect. It's just, is it the right tool for the job? And past a certain point, if the goal is to get toned, it's not. Which
it works until it doesn't.
People don't like to hear that sometimes, but
it works until it doesn't. And they're like, well, it worked for me, but they don't actually bring themselves to the now. It's like, yeah, it worked for you, but is it still working for you? And I had this conversation on my last podcast, in that people that lose a lot of weight from doing whatever batshit crazy training that they do, they will see some muscle building results because they had a lot of stored energy to use, which is why people with a lot of adiposity / fat tissue can build at the same time that they lose fat. So then whatever they were doing, they think that that works, but it's like, okay, it worked to get you to here, but what gets you from A to B won't necessarily get you from B to C to D and so on. And this is why the process is so important. And the thing that I find troubles most people is that because they were so focused on the scale that time, they don't have any real other metrics of success, just the feeling that they had in their training and chasing the scale going down. Anything else is just like, they don't know where to look. They don't know what's like, it's like nothing. And some people fall off because now what's the point? They don't have the motivation. And the point that I wanted to bring again to you, if you remember that point to bring into this, because of what you were saying, people think dieting is always the answer to what they want, to their goals. They think that dieting is it. They sign up with a coach, they do a program only for the sake of weight loss. Whereas coaches are way more than weight loss. And the thing is, if you do it right, you don't need a coach for weight loss. It's the easiest part. It's everything else. It's doing it the right way. So it's fat loss and not weight loss. It's doing it the right way so you can factor it into your life, so you can enjoy birthdays with your kids, with the family, with your friends. You can go out to socialize and not just gain all the weight back, so that every time you go on holidays, you're not coming back 10 pounds heavier. 5 kilos heavier. And like, they usually come to us from this place where they struggled. So then when we try to quote unquote fix the things, which you're not broken, your systems are just faulty. And the more that you push that system harder, you're just amplifying what isn't working. We need to kind of take the steps back. But then people are so scared of getting the weight back, seeing the scale go up. What if they go back to where they were before? What if they're lazy now? What if they're just letting themselves go? Like, I find that to be what isn't said, but what they're trying to say. Like, I don't want to get lazy. I don't want to let myself go. That's not enough for me to get results.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love our crowd so much, is because we lean so heavily into the mindset piece. And like, I mean, take a drink of water every time I've said this. Like, you can do whatever you want to your body, but if you're not willing to look inside and do stuff in your mindset, then nothing matters. It's not going to last. You're not going to learn anything about yourself or life or build any confidence. And so it's really inside is where it is. And I've said recently too, like, once you get a handful of skills under your belt, like the fitness and nutrition stuff is really kind of easy. It's a learning curve at first. You can scale it to where you are in the moment. Sometimes it's hard. It's always going to be effort. But once you like learn a few things, it actually gets kind of easy and repetitive and like, okay, I can live here. It's the mindset stuff. It's the emotions. It's getting in our heads about everything that kind of fucks us over.
Talk about the emotions and where they usually factor into us sabotaging ourselves.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, see, the power of the pause is something I talk about a lot, which in the moment is very difficult, but also in the moment is very necessary to be able to like calm yourself in the moment, ground yourself somehow, pull yourself out of whatever emotional swirl you're in. And zooming out is the visual that I like. Like, imagine zooming out of the situation. And there's kind of a framework. I don't even know where I got it, but it's pause, zoom out, assess, decide. And I talk about this incessantly. Pause in the moment, zoom out, look at what's actually happening, assess the situation, and then decide what you want to do. Because the thing that really bites people in the ass is that nobody's deciding what to do. They're reacting to everything all around them all the time. And so they don't actually know what they're doing until they've done it. And then it's like, oh, crap. Well, I just massively overate because I was trying to ignore a feeling that I just actually needed to feel. And so that's what screws people up more than anything is, just general awareness of what we're feeling in the moment. And then also being okay with being uncomfortable in feelings, because not every feeling is light and fluffy. There's hard things in life. People get sad. People get depressed. Like, I'm not talking clinical depression, but like, especially in the winter months here in like North America, people are really dragging. Like, a lot of my clients have really been dragging just because there's no sun. It's cold. Like, it's hard. And
this is where courage comes in.
Yeah. And it's okay to accept that as a temporary reality. And it's okay to not try to soothe it immediately, which I think is the biggest problem is people, it's kind of like immediate gratification. People want to soothe themselves, which is understandable. I mean, who doesn't? Nobody likes to sit with negative emotion. But also, it's so important to be able to do that. And then again, assess the situation. Ask yourself questions like, what do I actually need? What do I actually want? What do I actually need? What am I trying to feel or not feel? What is the next most helpful thing that I can do that will actually leave me feeling good mentally and physically? And then decide what you're going to do and do it. And I think the reactive living is the biggest thing that people have a hard time with. And I'm not perfect at it either. Nowhere close. But it is such an important thing to practice.
I think that's where a lot of people get pulled apart. And I know I made a post on this because it was in my memories, but it's like people, just because it looks easy doesn't mean that it is. And if you approach this from the mindset of this should be pretty easy, I can easily do this, it looks easy, blah, 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 you're going to set yourself up to fail because it is not easy. Like, it might it's simple as fuck. Yeah, okay, cool, it's simple. But it is not easy when the human side comes in, when the emotional side comes in that you need to now reason with. And when life is crazy, we usually take the toll on our bodies. When life is out of control, we try to control our bodies. We get more up and down about our bodies. Our bodies feel heavier because we're just stressed, and that just makes us feel heavier. But then we feel like our bodies are something we need to fix because we can control that. And I think this also comes down to because I really want to talk about realistic expectations and what the body actually takes, which if you get a handle on all of that stuff that Iris just said, that is usually where you come to terms with accepting where you are now to move forward. Because if you're always beating yourself up, always self-berating, you are not allowing yourself the grace. You're gritting so much on your life and getting all gritty on yourself, but there's no grace in that. I used to have a thing, grind and be grateful, similar, but you fuel for fat loss. You don't starve it. And when it comes to how sometimes coaches say, teach them how to go on forever and then they can do it themselves, but that's not actually what coaching is. We are more than just getting you to an X point. We help you build the body. We give you the training programs. We progress you through that so you can keep improving, because most of us have such crazy lives, especially after lockdown. I feel like it's just got crazier. If you feel like your life is too busy, that's why coaches are here, because they take the guesswork out of it. They give you the tools you need, so then you don't have to think about the next training program. You don't have to think about if you're making progress or not. You don't have to pull your weeds out. They're there to comfort you, to tell you it's okay when things get a little chaotic. But if you only look at it through the myopic lens of weight loss and thinking that if you do anything else, you'll get bulky and afraid for your clothes to feel tight, or progress only being linear in one direction, which I think is probably where I wanted to go next, in that they haven't expanded their meaning of progress, and they haven't really understood what that physique takes, and how progress isn't just about the physique outcome. I always say performance drives physique, but where else can we find progress? Because you might feel like you're stagnant in one area, but everything else is growing. But then again, I always say that progress isn't made in fat loss. Fat loss reveals progress. You're either in fat loss or you're improving and building, because I feel like that gives a better connotation to the word maintenance. You're in fat loss, doing what you need to do there for whatever period of time, or you're actually progressing and improving and having energy and enjoying time with the family. But I feel like this is what I want you to talk about. I feel like if people only think of or have a dieting mindset, they are not going to actually enjoy life outside of maintenance. They're just there. Maybe we can talk about that and the realistic expectations with, again, what progress means and what it takes.
Talk about maintenance?
Progress, because it's all about progress.
Well, I think one thing that people really get away from, especially when they embark on a health and fitness journey, is that everything goes into that basket and they don't have anything outside of that anymore. A lot of people that fills their cup and brings them joy, because they put so much emphasis on that. Have other things in your life that you want to progress in. Do you want to get really good at knitting? Do you want to garden? What do you want to do? Do you want to go do a hike that you've never done before and maybe thought you never could before you started exercising? Take some of the emphasis off of the progress that is aesthetic, first of all. But I think also, I've had this conversation with clients recently too, who are kind of getting down on themselves. Look at where you were in November and look at where you are now in terms of your mind, your thought processes. First of all, habits and routines and lifestyle. Yeah, no, we have room to improve, but look at all these things that you just didn't even think about before. And now it's just a part of your life. And then look at how terrible you were speaking to yourself a couple months ago, and look at you now. Being able to roll with the punches of life, I think, is one of the most underrated wins in general. like being able to pivot and not lose your mind when something doesn't go your way, whether it be like the number on the scale, or you have a bad body image day, or dinner plans changed, or you missed a macro. Like being able to kind of brush that stuff off, learn from it if necessary, like watch how often it's happening depending on what it is, right? Because yeah, specific goals mean specific actions have to happen. And if they're not happening, then you can't get upset that they're not happening. But also, like, there's a balance of, like, Gary Vee says, don't look back, it fucks with your neck. When I agree to an extent, but I think there's something to be said for, like, look at where you were, look at where you are now. And also, what else can you do outside of your body and nutrition and fitness that just makes you happy? Like, what is a series of books that you've wanted to read forever and you just never made the time? Do it. Like, why are people not allowing themselves to do things they like and not allowing themselves to be happy until they get to the body or the number or the clothes size, which are arbitrary anyway? And I can go off on a freaking soapbox about that because it just means nothing. But
go on your soapbox, please.
Well, they're so unregulated. Well, first of all, like, it's just a organization tool per company, right? I mean, it's just so the company knows what size a thing is, what number a thing is, so they can organize it and ship it and distribute it. Like, that's all it is. Company to company, it's wildly different. I mean, even some brands, you try on 2 pairs of the same pants and they're wildly different. It's just, it's so arbitrary. It means nothing. Not to mention, nobody's ever going to know unless you tell them what size.
Hey, I'm looking for like, I'm this size, I'm that size. Yeah. I'm looking, the funniest part
is in your Tinder profile. Who cares? Like,
it's like, oh, hello, I'm looking for a size 70 pounds. Well, not 70. I was going to say 70 kilos. I'm looking for a size 140 pounds. I was wondering if you have that. It's like, it's not even the size of the clothes. It's how those clothes fit. And it's okay to not love your body all the time. It's okay to hate how your body looks in clothes as well, because there are so many clothes that I tossed out and I don't eat, like I would not buy because I do not like how my body feels in it. I don't like how my waist looks in so many clothes because I'm someone who doesn't have a waist. I'm straight up and down. So most clothes don't suit me. I can beat myself up, say there's something wrong with my body that I want to fix, which, hey, I actually did. And it was why I was stuck for 5 years, literally 5 years, because I hated on myself for that long. I'm like, I can't change this element of my bone structure. I will never, ever in my life get hips. So I'm never, ever going to look good in those clothes. So why would I make myself? Maybe if I friggin' lost 20 kilos and was like a stick and then all you could see is bones. But that's the thing. Like, do you want to look healthy, fit, actually strong enough to kick people's asses? Or do you want to be weak and frail? And people don't realize that toned bodies have way more muscle and are so much stronger than you are. Like, the body that you want can leg press probably 100 kilos more than you do now, can squat probably 10 kilos more than you do now, can deadlift probably 20 kilos more than you do now, and can push themselves to beyond failure on many reps where you're still just giving up at a little bit of discomfort. And I know that is a hard truth, but the thing is, I love your hard truths. And I want them to come onto this podcast now for the second half of it, because sometimes we just need a little reality slap. And until we are faced with that reality that, oh my God, she's actually, like, I had a client say to me when I showed her a bicep curl, and the fact that I held my rep right here for about 5 seconds, according to my video. And then I'm just like, nah, fuck this shit. And then I dropped it. And like, I could not get that rep, but I did not just drop it because I couldn't get it up. I fought and I kept the tension, and then I dropped it. And that is what builds a body. It is not the dieting. You can eat all the calories you want. You can load yourself with protein, but you're still not going to build the body that you want without that training stimulus. It's part and parcel, which is why, like Iris said, you need to have life outside of it. Because if you keep trying to find joy and entertainment in everything that you're doing and chopping and changing, like you have ADHD with your programming or ADHD with your program, with your diets, you're not going to move anywhere, because it takes consistency and it takes you pushing yourself into that discomfort for that 45 to 1 hour, which is why you're probably better off with 4 training sessions, because there's no way that you're going to enjoy pushing yourself to absolute grit if you're training 7 or 6 days a week. Like, no. I
training
could
7
not.
or 6 days a week, you're probably not anyway.
I want you to bring that into this part, because as you get older, it's even more important to build muscle. Yet so many people struggle in like their 50s because they spent the last 20 years of their life trying to be smaller. So they still think that that's the answer, because now they have more belly fat. Now they have the cellulite showing, which are part of the aging process. But the thing is, you can dictate how you age by building muscle and not always chasing diets. So let's talk about this damn fucking patience and building muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing to touch on too is you got to respect your rest days and sleep, which I know gets harder naturally in different seasons of life because kids, because age, because menopause, because hot flashes, because all this stuff. But also, a lot of people just have a really freaking crappy sleep routine or no sleep routine at all. So they're not setting themselves up for good quality sleep however they can. And people are just in the gym too much. And I get it. I love it. If I could get away with going into the weight room every day, I would. But it really takes pushing close to that failure if you want to add muscle mass. Your body needs the stimulus. It's not just going to happen. You have to tell your body. And that's the problem with the internet, is that while people tell you that the stimulus you need is like the burn and, you know, the Pilates and all these things, again, perfectly fine movement, but the wrong tool for the job if your goal is strength and muscle. But yeah, I mean, it takes patience. And that is partly why I'm like so passionate about have things outside of the gym that you love to do. Like we're fitness professionals. And I had somebody tell me the other day, like, well, my life doesn't revolve around fitness like yours does. Mine doesn't either. I go to trivia with my friends. We go have board games. We have a cooking day every couple weeks where we pick a cookbook and make something we've never made before, and we eat like all of it. You know, it's there. I go traveling sometimes, not often, but every once in a while. And there are things that you have to have that allow yourself to rest and enjoy your life that are outside of fitness. But when you do the fitness thing, you have to commit to the bit. You have to be consistent, and you have to be okay with the discomfort of pushing yourself close to or to failure. I mean, there's good research suggesting that even like 2 or 3 shy of failures is pretty darn good for muscle growth. But even then, people just don't know what that means. They don't know what that looks like, because we're used to the panting and the sweating and the burning and the dry heaving on the floor and like all these things that, you know, fitness classes tell us we have to do to have it be effective, right? Well, it's effective for feeling like you're dead. But in terms of getting that toned body and building strength and movement patterns so you can age well and be capable, that's not going to cut it. It's really hard for people to hear because it's kind of the sunk cost fallacy, you know. Well, I've been doing this for so long, it has to work. Well, no, not necessarily.
That sunk cost fallacy is probably one of the biggest things that holds people back and keeps them stuck from even starting a new approach. It's like, I've already invested so much into this area, I'm going to keep going until I get something out of it. Or I'm just going to tweak a few things and try this and try that, and then I'll try the next thing. But then people put a cost to how much it takes or how much it is to get a coach that's actually going to do it the right way, and how much it costs to stay with them for longer than a year. But they don't take the cost of all the years that you spend yo-yoing, the stress and the time and the energy that goes to stressing about how you feel every time you go to bed and you're pinching your stomach, or when you look over and you're worried about this, that, and the other, which comes in the process of working on yourself and showing up for yourself. And when you have this element that allows you to enjoy everything that you do, that's going to give you the confidence that you want, because now your worth and the meaning of progress isn't just revolving around what your physique changes look like. And I know you can say this as well, because I still want to go on about this realistic expectation thing, but people think that bodies don't freaking jiggle. They think they need to be made out of wood, because people online are showing these photoshopped images where they get rid of this, that, and the other, or they actually do photo shoots that they dieted for. And so many people, Tom, John, Sally, and Sue, are all competing on stage, and they have like the lifestyle bodies versus what we think we should look like. And that lean, hard, tight body looks like that probably after a pump in the gym. Like, I don't look as lean, hard, and tight as I do in my selfies outside of the house. Like, yeah, okay, I look leaner and harder than most people because I have a fuck ton of muscle that I actually did a 3-year build, like a 3-year build, and I'm still in it. It's just that now I'm in maintenance and then I'm going to push into it again. It's like, I don't even want to go into a diet. I don't even want to see myself eating less than 2,200 calories. Like, I can't. Like, I love food. I love fueling myself, and I don't like feeling like shit. And before, it was, I just want to hurry up and get back into a diet. Like, that's why I'm like, you made it when you don't even want to diet.
Yeah. The, oh gosh, I was going to say something and it's gone. This is what happens.
The building phases, the body's burn jiggle,
well,
the
here's the thing. And I've actually, my opinion on this has slightly changed because I used to be like, yes, everybody go into a build, do it now. And I think two things can be true, right? For me and for a lot of people, it's one of the most empowering things you will ever do in your entire life. And it really helped me separate my progress from the scale because the scale was going up and up and up and I wanted it to. And at first it was kind of a mind fuck. And then after, a little bit, it was like, okay, well, this is part of the process. What do I actually want? This is what it takes to get what I want. Here I go. And it's just kind of what it is. But also, ladies, people can build significant amount of muscle in maintenance. Like, it takes a while, but you don't have to go into a surplus if you don't want to. But at the very least, you have to get into maintenance. And you have to stop pulling back as soon as the scale bumps up a little bit when you get into maintenance, because that is the thing that really, again, people biting themselves in the foot or shooting themselves in the foot, biting themselves in the ass, because as soon as the scale bumps up the smidge, they pull back and go back into that calorie deficit. And they're not experiencing any of the benefits of maintenance. And they're making it a lot harder on their bodies, or impossible, depending on the person, to actually put on muscle and build strength.
People think that maintenance means the scale not moving at all.
Yeah. People think it's one hard static number that, by the way, is the lowest number that they saw at the end of their cut, which it's not, right? If the scale doesn't bump up 2, 3, maybe even 5 pounds and kind of hover back and forth around there, if it doesn't do that, you're not in maintenance. And it's kind of defeating the purpose. And actually, I came from my first launch back into like a more balanced approach to fitness and nutrition after a lifetime of yo-yo nonsense was through Jordan Syatt and his inner circle. And they call maintenance momentum, because that is momentum for the rest of your life. Like, it is not stagnation that a lot of people choose to see it as. You can do so much in maintenance. Like, maintenance is life. Like, yeah, maybe some people with a lot of extra adiposity, like, they don't need to maintain that. They shouldn't maintain that. They need to lose some fat. But for a lot of people who are just stuck in this like diet, you have to experience maintenance. And it's kind of like that saying, you can't read the label when you're inside the jar, which is true. Like, you don't know unless you just go for it and experience it, which again is the benefit of having a coach. They can kind of hold your feet to the fire and also look at you objectively without all of your own emotions and like show you the data. Like, this is what's going on here. But you have to force yourself outside the jar, especially if you want just all around a better quality of life. I mean, this is health, right? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be happy? Or do you want to be the smallest version of yourself, which is likely not healthy and likely not happy, because people don't understand what it takes to be that lean. Like you mentioned, lifestyle lean versus stage lean. And I mean, honestly, that is a reality check I have to have with myself sometimes, because I have friends who compete, a couple of like good Instagram friends who compete, and a few of them are like coming out of prep. So they were like lean. And I mean, I like them because they say it how it is. You are this lean for a day and you get out as soon as you can, because it is not healthy. And people don't understand that. And they're filling their feed with all these stage lean bikini prepped girls who, first of all, probably built that body in like 10 years, not 8 months. that people think it can happen in. And also, they are that lean for a period of time and then they are out if they're doing it in a sane, reasonable way. But also, going back to the whole like mini build timeline thing, everybody wants it to happen faster. Everybody does. I do. Like, would I love to have like more delts and more glutes? Yeah. But also, I think it's important to accept that you can want it, but also kind of detach from that a little bit. Like, yeah, I want it to be faster. Everybody wants it to be faster, but it's not gonna, So love you. Deal with it, people. You know what I mean? And also, I think in terms of the fat loss piece too, it's never going to be sustainably fast, right? But it can be a little bit faster if you are honest about your actions and your consistency. And same with the muscle building piece too. Like it's always going to be slow. Everything is always going to be slow. But also there's a hefty dose of like, are you doing what you say you're doing? Are you doing what you think you're doing? And that's hard to confront sometimes, but it is so necessary.
I love that so much because they're in Facebook groups, which I find myself in a lot. People always say, I want to do this mini build. And it's like, I went on about this with Brandon the Cruise. There is no such thing as a mini build. Building muscle takes time. I'm trying to find this freaking post that I put up before, but it was something like, just because you start doing the right thing, just because you start building doesn't make you entitled to results. It's like a gestation period. You still need to put in the work and fuel that baby. Oh, here it is. It's like gestation. It's not like all of a sudden the baby pops out of nowhere. It's been growing this whole time as you have been nourishing it and nurturing it. It has been growing in that period of time. But the thing is, even in 9 months, I would say that's still not enough to see the progress that you say that you want. Like, yeah, you can make significant progress in 9 months if you do it the right way, if you know how to train freaking hard, and if you're doing all of the right things consistently, which if you look at a general life, there are always things that pull us off track, pull us on track, which is why I say don't walk on a tightrope, walk on a wide road, because then you're always shifting in between the right direction forward, facing forward. But it's still going to take a shitload of time, and you're going to make it longer by putting things on hold when things get busy or fluctuating too much up and down, which you said this at the start. Like, it's about making the lows less low and making the comeback, the distance between the low and the neutral, much closer. And I also feel like a lot of people get hard on themselves and make things worse than it is, because after a high, any dip is going to feel more exaggerated than it is because you are at such a high. But shit will always come up. Again, this is why that emotional regulation is so important, because progress isn't made in 4 months, in 6 months. Heck, coach's minimum sign-up period is only you really getting started on the trajectory that serves you. Shit takes time. Give it at least 3 years. Like, shit is going to happen in those 3 years, but not if you keep asking and begging your coach to put you into a fat loss phase. There's a cue for you there.
Yeah, I tell my clients when we come on, like the first month at least, nothing means anything. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about anything. I just want you to get consistent and like logging the data and doing the things. And we can talk about routines and like start adjusting that. But like until we get past that point, I don't know you. I don't know you as a person. I don't know what any of this means. I don't know your life. Like, we have to figure this out and be okay with that little like kind of holding period kind of deal. And largely I work in fat loss, but I do have a handful of muscle building people, which I love that you said way at the beginning. I was grinning because like people call me a weight loss coach. Like, people just in my life who don't really know what I do, and I don't preach about really what I do, but they're like, oh yeah, you do the weight loss coaching thing. I'm like, yeah, well, yes, but also so much more than that. But it's Yeah, 6 months, I would say for a building period, either in a surplus or in maintenance, is like the low end to see significant muscle. And like I saw some, but even like I just and again, like I said, that was enough for me to be okay with doing a longer one because like I had come from a history of yo-yoing. I have lost and kept off a significant amount of body fat. And so that scared me. And so like I didn't want to do a full one because I didn't really know and understand everything that was going to happen or needed to happen. But it was enough. So I don't think that's a horrible starting place, but you also, again, like manage expectations. What's actually going to happen? Are you going to turn into a bikini prep girl after 6 months? No. But if you stick with it and if you don't give up when things just get a little bit inconvenient and difficult, and maybe you have a bad body image day, that's the one thing is, people have a wonky body image day. They don't understand that that's normal. And then they throw up their hands and then it's just all over.
And then they blame the program, blame the this, blame the that, but they're not just realizing, hey, you're human.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's so many things. Like I have a whole list that I talk to people about all the time, like things you think aren't normal that are normal. You're not broken, you're not crazy, you're not weird, you're just human. Like having a bad body image day, having cravings, not being motivated, like treating yourself like a dick sometimes. Like do that less, but yeah, sometimes it happens. It's normal, it's human. Like all of these things, and that kills me about like all of the marketing and diet culture and everything, is that it just leaves people feeling like they're broken and that like there's no hope, which is like the farthest thing from the truth. Like welcome to humanity. Everyone's fucked. And we can all work with ourselves and make our lives and make the world better. But it does take effort and it does take time. And you can't get around being proactive, which I think is the hardest thing. Because, I mean, it would be nice to have everything hand delivered, but that's just not the reality. And when we're used to doing certain things a certain way for such a long time, when we're used to thinking a certain way for a long time, it's hard to change it. Like, I don't know if you watched my stories earlier this week, but I've been laughing at myself all week because I switched my gym schedule by a day, which saying that does not seem that monstrous.
But I can relate, so I know it's monstrous.
But for the past 6 years, I've been doing the same thing. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday was my gym. And I was like, I've got some schedule things. I'm going to switch it by a day. And it has messed up my life. Like I've thought it's Saturday all day. I've had a day off all day. I'm forgetting things in my gym bag. I'm like wearing the wrong shoes. So I have to take my shoes off to lift. Like it's just when you try to change things, it's hard. And you have to accept that. And you can accept it again as a temporary reality. It's not always going to be so hard as long as you stick with it and be okay with being human and being okay with putting in that effort and like tweaking and adjusting along the way. And there was another point I was going to use myself as an example for, but it's gone. It may come back. We'll see. I don't know.
I liked that 6 months building thing as well, because it's like, yeah, but most people aren't willing to eat enough to even put on the tissue that they want in 6 months as well. But at the same time, it's like the realistic expectations. Like if you're only going to go into it for 6 months, don't expect anything out of it. And this is why I said this is not the momentum thing, but I call it improvement. Like you're either in fat loss or you're improving. Every single time you dip yourself into fat loss, you stop the improvement. You stop the progress. You stop all of that building that you need to do to get the body that you want. And using me as an example right now, because it was that same thing, I actually did 8-figure comps in my history. Yeah, I did 8. And they were in the span of 2.5 years. And as you can imagine, 2.5 years of getting on stage, getting stage lean. Every single time I competed, I got leaner, but I looked worse by the last one. Because in that period of time, I was losing muscle. I wasn't fueling enough. I thought that a 4-month build in between season A and season B was enough. And I know that this is an extreme, but this is what people do on the real life level. And it wasn't until I moved away from my stupid mind, went from competing in that to then competing in powerlifting. I had my best physique powerlifting because I was fueling. I was lifting heavy ass shit, and I became competitive there, and then I started competing in that. But that's the thing. I built my legs that people say, oh my God, I love your legs. I built those powerlifting, not bodybuilding. I built those lifting heavy shit, eating a shitload of calories and fueling, building a shit ton of muscle. And that was part of my 3-year build. Building muscle got me to look the lean that I do now because I did one fat loss phase, and that was unintentionally in lockdowns, and I lost muscle in that process as well, but I still have some muscle mass. But it's like that one fat loss phase, I didn't feel in that moment of time that I could ever stick to anything, that I could ever be adherent. I could never imagine seeing my body change because of how much I struggled in the past to get the scale to go down. But it happened effortlessly. My coach was like, what the fuck? Because I lost 4 kilos in 4 weeks. And then he's just like, I was expecting that to be over an 8-week period. So he just did it for 6 weeks and that's it. So I ended up losing 4.5 kilos in that short period of time. Whereas before, I kept trying to budget it. The scale would go up instead of down. And this, because you said this on one of your podcasts, and I really want you to hop on it. People and photos, like they take the photos, they obsess over them, they pick every single little element. I hate this about me. I want to fix this. This is ugly. Analyzing, like, this is why it's hard for me to ask for progress photos and why I hate it. Because as soon as I take the progress photos, they are so hard on themselves. They self-sabotage. Nothing's changing. I'm fat. I'm over.
I make them take pictures and then we talk about it.
I know. It's like, this is why taking, like, your body isn't going to change in a week. You don't need to take them weekly. Take the photo, put it up there when you're asked to take it, but don't overanalyze it. I like taking them every 6 to 8 weeks because then they actually, they're not like, their body isn't the focus of the coaching. It's every 6 to 8 weeks because I don't care about that stuff as much. What I care about is, how are you training in the gym? What's your biofeedback like? What's your consistency like with the action steps that we laid out? Because if you're doing that process, the results will take care of themselves. Like, I have people saying, if we're not measuring this and measuring that, how do you know I'm making progress? Because you're doing the action steps that I laid out. That's what it takes to get to the outcome.
Yeah, photos and progress are one of my favorite things, actually, because that shows a lot that the scale does not show. And it's kind of yes, yeah. And that's one thing I make very clear is, like, we are not comparing month to month. We are comparing like month 1 to month 5. Like, we take the data every month. We do it every 4 to 5 weeks, whatever the last week of the month is. And then we just set them aside. And I tell them too, at the beginning, there's a little video that I send them, like, the purpose of this is data. The purpose of this is not to take the pictures and then start immediately pointing out everything that you hate. Like, this is not the way, grasshopper. This is how you beat yourself down into a pulp and then feel like you're a piece of shit. And you cannot hate yourself into positive change. Like, I told Juan this the other day too, like, cruelty never results in anything good. And it kind of blows my mind how mean people are to themselves. And, like, saying things that they wouldn't even dream of saying to people that they don't like. Like, even if they do not like the person, they just wouldn't say it. They wouldn't go there. But they do it to themselves, and it drives me crazy. And, like, been there, done that. But also, it just doesn't help. So, like, we do talk about that a lot. Like, how can you reframe this to be gentler? Like, at the very least, you don't have to gaslight yourself into, like, loving it. You don't have to love it if you don't love it. There are times where you're not going to like what you see in the mirror. Stop body checking, stop pinching, stop poking, stop obsessing over all these things. Like, with progress pictures, I kind of have them just treat it as, like, just a task to do. Like, in our coaching software, I have them, like, log the things they need to log, whether it be weight or calories or protein or whatever. Progress pictures, put them in there, done. Stop looking at them. And I think it's cool over time to show them that, especially if it happens to be an individual where the scale doesn't move that much and they just lose a lot more fat than they lose weight. And it's nice to show them, like, look at your body. Like, it is so glaringly different. You cannot ignore that. And do you want your dream number or do you want your dream body? Like, they don't probably look the same, and you have to be okay with that distinction.
I'm going to tag you in tomorrow's post because that's exactly what I have scheduled. I'm going to tag you in that. But that, like, this is the biggest part. It's just like everything is data, and we know that you're making progress if you're doing what we set out. Like, we've been coaching I've been coaching for almost 9 years now. Like, we've been doing this shit for a very long time. We know what to look for. We know what we don't need. We know what we need. And progress isn't made in 3 months. Like, the expectations people have of how long it takes their body to change. And the worst part is comparing your rate of progress when you're 40 years old, 50 years old, to how fast you made progress in your 20s.
Yes. Yeah, that drives me crazy. Or to other people, you know? And I've said too, like, if you compare this, you have to compare absolutely everything. If you compare someone's body or rate of change to you, you have to compare their like relationship status, their child status, their upbringing, their diet history, their genetics, like on the very base level, their genetics, you know, their financial situation. Like, do they have kids? I think I said that. Do they have pets? Like, everything. You can't pick and choose. It makes no sense. You have to compare absolutely everything. And
you can't Frankenstein it.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't that be nice? You can't do it. And there's a heavy dose of like, keep your eyes on your own paper. Like, it doesn't matter if your best friend is losing fat a lot or losing weight. Maybe it's not fat a lot faster than you are. It doesn't matter. You know, it's comparison. I don't think is all around a terrible thing. I think, you know, that's another thing. That's just part of human nature. You know, we see somebody and we compare. It's just a thing. Like, these two things are not like each other. It's just human nature. It's the dwelling on it that's the problem. And like, I think a lot of people start off their fitness journey, if you want to call it that, with comparison. Like I did. I'll say that. Meg Squats was the one that, like, I saw her. She's like my height. She's body shape is similar to me. She looked how I wanted to look. And I was comparing myself. And that's kind of what started it. But then it turned into, okay, what can I do? Like, you have to stop dwelling on the comparison. Like, if it pops up, fine, that's human. But keep your eyes on your own paper and do what you need to do. Like, really lean into ticking the boxes that ultimately are going to get the job done. And that's how you appreciate the process. Like, people say, love the process. You got to love the process. Well, that's kind of vague. How do you do that? By living it out, and you start to appreciate it. And then you start to see the changes mentally and physically and emotionally and all these things. And then you start to love it. And then you can't imagine living without it, you know? Calorie deficit, you know, notwithstanding. You don't want to live there. That's not a lifestyle. But just the lifting and the nutritious food and fitting in the fun food and like managing your emotions and doing fun stuff outside of fitness. Like, that's the lifestyle. And like, now where I am, I'm 30. I don't have kids yet. We hope to. My life will change when we have kids. It just will. But like, I can't imagine not having this as a priority in my life because I know what it's done for me. And that, I think, is what I want to kind of lovingly shake into everybody, is like, there's so much more to this than weight loss, fat loss. Like, all the answers are not in fat loss. They're not. No matter how we try to shoehorn them into fat loss, it's not. It's in the process. And like pushing into discomfort and being patient and being consistent and working with yourself too. Like figuring out what makes your brain tick and how you can set up your life so that it works with your brain. Because under the umbrella of how it all works, like calorie balance, like all these things, progressive overload, there's a million ways to do it. Like, there's no right way. And anyone saying there's like one specific way to do it is full shit. And that's the problem with like carnivore and keto people, that just like their way is the way. It's the religion. It's not. It is a way. Those two, I think, are kind of dumb. But, you know, there's ways to make it work with your lifestyle. And you have to live with it, however you do it. And I don't think a lot of people can live with constant chasing skinny, chasing smaller, I mean, they're going to end up at frail. I mean,
that's actually, sorry, one more thing. I wanted to end the podcast there, but there's one more thing that I want you to kind of tie the bow on, because that's actually like people keep trying to lose fat regardless of whether they're trying to build muscle or not. And then they wonder why they're not going anywhere. So then they're in this place where they're like fluctuating between 1,200 calories to 1,500 calories, low calories for years. And then they wonder why nothing changes, why they feel like crap, why they're not progressing in the gym, why they're always hitting plateaus, why they keep coming to the same forum asking the same questions about why they're struggling, but they still haven't given themselves enough time to eat enough. So they're trying to build muscle, but they're eating like little calories, and then they let themselves eat a little bit, and then they go back down to eating 1,500 calories, for example. And it's just like, you can't just keep chasing both at once. And then they expect to look like, you said, a bikini competitor after a year. That's how I kind of want you to tie the bow in that cycle that they find themselves in, and what you would say about it, and then tie a bow on it.
Yeah, periodizing is big. And like I said, I don't think everybody has to build necessarily, but I do think maintenance is an absolute, right? Either your body will put you there because it's adapted, you know, over a long enough time. If you're actually legitimately consistently eating low calories, a lot of people think they are, but they're not. But some people do, and your body will adapt. And so your body will put you in maintenance, and you have to live with it or change it over a long period of time. Or you have to dip a toe in and experiment with how many calories you can eat and still maintain your weight, right? Within those 3 to 5-ish pounds. I mean, individuals, maybe a little bit more. But when it starts bouncing back and forth, you've hit maintenance. How much can you get away with there? You know, there's a lot more built-in flexibility in terms of food, you know, food choices. There's just some things that are really hard to fit in a calorie deficit. And that's why people go crazy when they try to diet too long, is because yes, you can technically, but it's a lot harder to fit certain foods in a deficit. You have a lot more flexibility in maintenance, but also it's just, I mean, it's hard and it's scary, and I can understand that, but also there is no way around the action piece. You have to try. And then what's the worst that could happen? You know, if the scale bounces up and it keeps going up after a couple months, okay, great. You're not in maintenance. You're in a surplus. And if you want to get back into maintenance, you can pull back a little bit. It's not the end of the world. But you have to. Like, if it comes back down to actions and expectations, what do you actually want? Do you want to get strong and put on muscle? Then what that takes is giving your body the energy it needs to do that. Period. Otherwise, you can't expect it to happen. And yeah, I think that's my ramble.
I love that. I had to mark that as a timestamp, because that was like, what do you want? What are your expectations? I think that's the best way to sum this up, because you can't say you want something and act completely in ambivalence to it. Like, if you're not congruent with your actions, then you can't expect that outcome. And the only reason people struggle so much and get into this depressed state, like you said, is because their reality does not match their expectations. And every time your expectations are higher than your reality, you're setting yourself up for more disappointment and more frustration and just circling the block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if I could add one more thing too, because like, I mean, you know, as well, the symptoms kind of being in a sustained calorie deficit, like lower energy, lower mood, lower libido, like just being cranky, all of these things, headaches sometimes. I think a lot of people don't realize that that's why they're happening. Like, that is not normal. You are not functioning normally because you are refusing to give your body energy. And like, I think about the older women in my life, like my immediate IRL life, all the time, who have spent their entire lives yo-yo dieting, and they feel like they're going crazy and they're experiencing all these things, half of them in menopause. And I'm like, man, that just makes everything worse. But they don't understand that that is not them. That is because they are restricting calories incessantly, and they are experiencing all of these negative effects. And it's just dumb.
Well, this ending is seriously the best part of the podcast, because I'm sure a lot of people, I say because a lot, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate to everything you just said at the end there. And it's actually a real life experience. So if that's you, stop doing the same dumb shit that's making you feel broken. Again, you're not broken. Your systems are. And as soon as you said that, I'm like, fuck, that's what I say. So I'm going to keep repeating that now in this podcast, because it's
you're
true.
not broken. Your methods are broken. Fix the methods. Damn it.
And exactly. I put it on my threads as well, in that you're never going to get results if you approach it with the same mindset that you approached all the things that weren't working for you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Exactly.
With that, I'm going to put Iris Deadlifts Instagram down below. And if there's anything else that you want to share, plug, I think you have everything in your bio. Yeah, you do. You have your link tree in your bio. Anything else?
It's Instagram is my main social media. I do have a Threads. I forget about it a lot, but then when I remember it, I'll post like 8 things in one morning. And I do have a podcast, which is going under a little bit of a rebrand right now.
Talk fitness.
What?
2 Bitches Talk Fitness, but now it's not going to be that.
No, it's not going to be that. I love that name. It has a place in my heart. But my co-host is stepping down. And I'm getting a new co-host, and we are rebranding to, here's the deal. Is that something I say all the time? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Nutrition, fitness, and mindset for people who don't want life to suck. That is our podcast.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Stop making your life suck more than it needs to, because life is already difficult as it is.
Yes. Amen to that.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. And if you guys loved this podcast, please share it to a friend. If you resonated with anything, if there is something that you think someone needs to hear, send it to them. If you liked it, rate it, put a 5-star rating in the Apple or the Spotify, and message either of us if there's anything else that you want to ask, want to talk about. I always get amazing. I resonated with this. This part I took away. So it means a lot to me. And it also means a lot to me if you share it with the guests as well, because it makes them feel better. I know that I always feel good when I'm a guest on something and people tell me that they resonate with something. So yeah, hope you love this, and you will hear me on the next episode.